Allah has mentioned in the Quran, إن عدة الشهور عند الله 12 شهرا في كتاب الله يوم خلق السماوات والأرض منها 4 حرم ذلك الدين القيم فلا تظلموا فيهن أنفسكم. The number of months in the year to Allah, not to George Bush, not to this paper, not to, with Allah. The number of months with Allah in Islam, they are 12 months. From those 12 months, they were like that from the day that Allah created the heavens and the earth, and He legislated these 12 months. It was not for Bani Adam, mahma kana lawnuhu, mahma kana deenu. It's not for anyone to come in and to change it. And if it's changed, we leave them to do what they want to do, and we have our own program. So it was like that Allah created the heavens and the earth. 4 of those months are sacred. 4 of those months. This is the deen that is straight with Allah. So therefore, Muslims, don't oppress yourselves in the sacred months. We talked last time about the dhunub and the ma'asi and how a Muslim has to have a minhaj as it relates to it. And part of the minhaj of Islam when it comes to the dhunub and the ma'asi is that if you do a sin at a certain time, it could be worse than doing it at a different time. If you do a sin in a certain place, it could be worse than you doing that sin in a different place. So the one who smokes cigarettes outside of the masjid is a sin, but to smoke a cigarette on the minbar is a bigger thing. Prophet Muhammad told the people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لِيَنْ يَسْرِقْ رَجُلًا مِنْ 10 أَبْيَاتٍ خَيْرٌ لَهُ مِنْ أَنْ يَسْرَقْ مِنْ بَيْتِ جَارِهِ. For a man to steal from 10 different people, 10. Stealing is haram. But for him to steal from 10 different people is better than to steal from his neighbor. To have sex, zina, akramakumullah, the hadith said, with 10 women, that's haram. But to have it with 10 women is better than to have it with his neighbor's wife. So the sin can be a'zam, it can be athqal in the mizan, depending upon when it's done, where it's done, who it's done to. So if an individual kills his mother or his father or relative, that's one of the worst kinds of murder. إن أشد الناس عذابا يوم القيامة رجل قتل نبيا أو قتله النبي. So the one who gets the worst punishment is a man who killed a Nabi. That's the worst person to kill. The point. This ayah shows us that as Muslims, there are 4 sacred months that you have to know about. Because the ayah said, don't oppress yourselves in these 4 sacred months. And those 4 sacred months are Muharram, the first month of the Islamic calendar. And it is Ashura. The Muslim who's worth his weight, he should know it. We have a class here. We encourage, bring your kids to the class, teaching them about their religion and teaching them about holding on to their Islamic identity, because out there, these people are making war against that identity. We did a class recently. We talked about the wives of the Nabi of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Out of all of our students from everywhere where you're from, our kids didn't know how many wives the Prophet had, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Our kids didn't know the names of Rasulullah's wives, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I told them that Allah said in the Quran, النبي أولى بالمؤمنين من أنفسهم وأزواجه أمهاتهم. Those are your mothers. So if someone asks me, Abu Usamah, what's your mother's name? Talking about my biological mother, and I said, I don't know. Let's do I don't know. That person has to say about me what happened to him. Was he dropped on his head as a baby? You don't know his mother? Did his mother and his father hand him over to a family that didn't know him, so he grew up not knowing his mother? How is it possible that the Muslim doesn't know the 11 names of the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? It's not because the Muslims are bad. It's not because the Muslims are evil. It's not because we're all in the hellfire. It's because we're living in a time where knowledge is being taken away from the ummah. Knowledge. So as it relates to the issue today, the 4 sacred months. First one is Muharram. The second one is Rajab. The third one is the month we're in right now. Dhul-Hijjah, the 11th month of the Islamic calendar. And the last one is Dhul-Hijjah, which is going to be tomorrow, inshallah, or the next day. So today is the 29th day of Dhul-Hijjah, of Dhul-Qa'dah, a sacred one, the third one. Tomorrow, inshallah, is going to be the next one, the Idhnillah. This is tremendously important in our religion because you have to know about these issues to know how to worship Allah in these days to get the most out of what we're doing. The Prophet of Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, got a religion. And we're about to embark upon a tremendously important season right now. Allah said in the Quran, Al-Hajj ashhurun ma'lumat. فَمَنْ فَرَضَ فِيهِنَّ الْحَجِّ فَلَا رَفَضَ وَلَا فَسُوقَ وَلَا جِدَالَ فِي الْحَجِّ. The months of Hajj are well known. Do you know the months of Hajj? Do you know the months of Hajj? If someone asks you, how many of them are there? And what are their names? Allah said the months of Hajj are well known. So if anyone wants to perform Hajj in those months, then you can do that, no problem. But do not do anything lewd, and don't argue, and don't do any fisq. So the months of Al-Hajj is the month of Shawwal. After a person performs Umrah, after a person performs Ramadan, the next month is Shawwal. He can travel to Mecca and make Umrah in Shawwal, and that's part of his tamattu for the Hajj. He makes Hajj, Umrah, he can come back or he can stay, and he can wait till the day of Tarwiyah, the 8th day of Dhul-Hijjah. It's permissible. The second month is Dhul-Qa'dah. A person wants to make Hajj. If it wasn't for Corona, most people would have traveled to Mecca by now. They would have done their Umrah of a tamattu already. And Dhul-Hijjah didn't start. You make Umrah in this month, and then on the 8th day of Dhul-Hijjah, the day of the Tarwiyah, you put your Ihram on and you make the Hajj again. So those are the 3 months of Hajj. Billahi alaykum ummatul Islam. If someone came to you and gave you an airplane ticket, gave you a visa, hotel accommodations, and said, go to Hajj, would you know how to make Hajj? Would you know how to make Hajj? And I'm not putting anyone down. What I'm trying to do is raise your consciousness of the religion of Islam right now. The Muslims, as it relates to our religion, we need to learn our religion more. So as it relates to these days, Ummatul Islam, we should be pumped up, we should be excited, we shouldn't be the normal people just dragging our feet, because these are some illustrious days. The Prophet said about tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ما من أيام العمل الصالح فيهن أحب إلى الله من هذه الأيام. فقال الرجل يا رسول الله ولا الجهاد في سبيل الله؟ قال ولا الجهاد في سبيل الله إلا الرجل خرج بنفسه وماله ثم لم يرجع من بذلك بشيء. These days, the 10 days of Dhul-Hijjah. Tomorrow, if it's Dhul-Hijjah, tonight at Maghrib, if it's Dhul-Hijjah, the new month starts tonight, these are the days in which the deeds you do in these days are more beloved to Allah than any other day throughout the whole year. It's better than the day that the Prophet was born, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we don't even know that day. It's better than the day that the Nabi was born. It's better than the day of Ashura. These 10 days, the deeds in these 10 days started at Maghrib tonight. So if you make Maghrib in the masjid, Isha in the masjid, he said these actions are more beloved to Allah than any actions outside of his days. Knowing the level of jihad. The companions were people that made jihad. They were in shape. They were men. They had power over their women. Their women did not tell them, I'm going to cut my eyebrows, and he couldn't say anything. The women could not tell them, I'm not wearing hijab. Their women could not tell them things like that. They were not oppressive, beating their women up, but they were rijal, as Allah described them in the Quran. Rijalun yuhibbuna an yatatahharu. They were men. And part of being a man is protecting and having sovereignty, protecting your money, your religion, your family, your land. Look at the Muslims, our situation. Those companions, they were on the jihad, not facade, the crazy ideas. So concerning the issue, one of the companions said, Ya Rasulallah, do you need to tell me the deeds that you do in these 10 days? Dhikr of Allah? Salah in these days? Sadaqah in these days? You mean to tell me to walk to the masjid in these days is better than me making jihad in the month of Ramadan? Than the month of Rajab? Making jihad in another month or do it these days is better. You said yes. If you make dhikr in these days, it's better than anything you can do outside of these days, with the exception of the person who, outside of these days, he makes the correct jihad. And in that jihad, he loses his life. So he gets shahada. So that's better than the 10 days of Dhul-Hijjah. So that's an indication and the idea, Ikhwani, of how important these days are and the opportunity that's in front of us. And just like the month of Ramadan, we as a community, when we heard about the last 10 nights of Ramadan, there's not a person here, and Allah knows best. Someone is the closest and best practicing Muslim here, and someone is the weakest Muslim here. In the month of Ramadan, everybody, inshallah, in the last 10 days, we get more pumped up, more excited. People don't come to the masjid throughout Ramadan, and the last 10 days, they're coming, looking for Laylatul Qadr. Because Laylatul Qadr is the best night of the whole dunya. And it is that dua, and it is this, and it is that. So the Muslims, we get serious about it, and that's good. But for these 10 days are better than the days of Ramadan. All of them. The 10 nights of Ramadan are the best in the dunya. But these are the best 10 days of the dunya. So it's not okay to make Ramadan night Laylatul Qadr big, and these 10 days are just normal. Because the same person who told us about Ramadan is telling us about these 10 days. Allah Ta'ala has mentioned in the Quran, when a Muslim looks at days like this, and he rolls up his sleeves and he gets serious, it's a sign that he has Iman. He never met Rasulullah, he never saw him, he never heard him, but the hadith comes to him, he listens to it, he says, based on his Iman and his belief, I'm going to take advantage of these days. Allah mentioned in the Quran, ذَلِكَ وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. Anyone who exalts the institutions of Islam, of Allah, it's a sign he has taqwa. What's the institutions of Islam? There are many. From the institutions of Islam is the Masjid al-Haram and the Masjid al-Nabawi. And this masjid is from the Sha'air of Islam. It's these masjids that let these people know we're Muslims. The adhan is from the Sha'air of Islam. The hijab is from the Sha'air of Islam. The way the Muslim looks, the shakhsi of the Muslim. إن الصفا والمروة من شعائر الله فمن حج البيت أو اعتمر فلا جناح عليه أن يطوف بهما صفا المروة from the sha'air of Islam. So these are the days where the biggest institutions of Islam are going to be respected by the people who are supposed to know them. So my brother, he has children. These are the days of Dhul-Hijjah, 10 days. You have kids, I have kids. We go through these 10 days and we take no time out to teach these people, these kids, about their religion, about what is the Kaaba, what is the virtues of Mecca, what are the virtues of Medina, what is the virtues of the Maqam of Ibrahim, Muzdalifah, Arafah, what is the Jamarat, what is that all about? A man sitting with his sons, telling them the story about Ibrahim and his son Ismail, and how Ismail made ta'awun with his father, and so forth and so on. Their days come and go and they don't mean anything. No. These are the days that the real Muslim who's worth his salt, his weight in salt, he has to take advantage of these days. He can work these days, but he shouldn't work to the degree where he doesn't make any istiqlal of these days. These are the days to take advantage, Ikhwani, of making the ta'zeem of the religion, especially to our children and for our children, because if we don't, look what happens. Every year, the celebrations of the non-Muslims, we can't escape them. We're living here, and we can't escape them. When it's time for Christmas, when it's time for other holidays like that, birthdays, that have nothing to do with Islam. If the Muslim in our audience is not practicing the birthday, he feels like he's missing out on something. If someone tells him birthdays are not permissible from the Quran and the Sunnah, he'll get mad at you and not consider the dalil that you're giving him. It's just because it's something that we've done. When we talk to Ikhwani about the iddat al-shuhur in Allah. It's important in our religion. Why? Because in Islam, the months, all of them have a history and have something about Tawheed and the Deen connected to them. Whereas these people, this is just for your information. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all gods and shirk of the Romans and the Greeks. So their life is about kufr and shirk. Where you realize it, you don't realize it. It's just all around you. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, shirk. It's about asnam, kufr, shirk, khurafat. Do they practice that every day? No, but they borrowed it from their forefathers and that's their religion. This is not the way the Muslim is. The Muslim exists and he exists with order. He exists with knowledge, knowing what he's doing. So the call here is take advantage of these 10 days. Not just yourself individually, but also encouraging your family and make it an opportunity, inshallah, to collectively try to get closer to Allah. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ونسأل الله تعالى التوفيق والسداد. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا وطيبا مباركا فيه. There are things to be done in these days, especially for you new reverts to this religion. We have people who have embraced Islam, and unlike you, every year throughout your life, you saw things from your mother and your father and your community where you came from and maybe even here. So you got some idea about Hajj, some idea about Ramadan, some idea about these days. People accepted Islam recently. They don't even know what Ramadan is. They haven't fasted Ramadan yet. How are they going to know about what to do during these days? There are things to be done, Ummatul Islam, during these days. Now is not the time to go through all of them, but there are quite a few. So you make it your business to go back. And all you have to do is put in the virtues of the 10 days of Dhul-Hijjah and English and Google. It's going to come up. But for one of the reasons why the scholars said these days are the greatest days of the dunya is because these are the only days in your life in the dunya in which all 5 arkan of Islam are being practiced in these 10 days. This is the only time during the year that the 5 arkan of Islam are being practiced only in these 10 days. So the first Rukn, the Shahadatan, is always practiced all year long throughout your life. The Salat, always practiced all year long throughout your life. The Zakat is not practiced all year long. The man came into Al-Islam in Dhul-Hijjah, the 12th month. So he has to pay his Zakat after 1 year. He doesn't come into Islam in the 12th month and then pays his Zakat in Ramadan. He didn't even hit a year yet. The scholar said people can put their zakat in Ramadan because of the barakah. But you don't have to do Ramadan when you come into Islam. It's 1 year, the hawl. And then how much money do you have? And then as for fasting, there are people making up fast for Ramadan in this month. There are people who want to fast these days, Arafah. And then clearly Hajj. Hajj is done at this time. During these 10 days, the complete Hajj. Hajj is not in Ramadan. Hajj is not in any other month. So these are constituted as the greatest days. And in these days, you should make all of those arkan to the best of your ability. And also the Prophet encouraged people to make a lot of salat and a lot of dhikr. But the last thing I want to mention is the udhiyah. We should slaughter during these days. For those people who want, especially for the reverse tonight in our Back to Basics class, we're going to do the thing about the ahkam of the udhiyah. What to do and what not to do. And that's going to be before Salat al-Maghrib, so that when Maghrib comes, you have an opportunity, inshallah, to be ready for it if you're going to slaughter. So that's tonight, inshallah, at 6:30, I believe. 6:30 tonight. Next week, bi'idhnillah, we're only going to have one Jama'at after that. And we've opened up some space downstairs. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal by His Ism and Azam to accept it from us and you, and to make us of those people who are truthful in word and deed, to establish us firmly upon the Kitab and the Sunnah, and to help us to get the most out of these days. Aqim as-salat. Yarhamakumullah.